Before we dive into this heart-touching story, we'd love to know, where in the world are you joining us from? Drop it in the comments below. Your presence means the world to us, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because every story we share is made with love, just for hearts like yours. Jennifer was a shy, hard-working girl who had just started her job at a big company in New York City. She always kept to herself and focused on her work. One evening, Jennifer stayed late at the office to finish an important project. The office was empty and quiet except for the sound of her typing. Jennifer sat at her small desk near the window, the soft hum of the city lights flickering outside, barely reaching the quiet office space. The glow of her computer screen was the only bright spot in the room, casting gentle shadows across her focused face. The clock on the wall ticked steadily toward 8 p.m., long after most of her coworkers had packed up and left for the day. She had always been the kind of person who preferred silence over noise. Quiet moments allowed her to think clearly, to focus on her work without distractions. Jennifer was shy by nature. She didn't speak much in meetings and rarely raised her hand to offer ideas, but when it came to her tasks, she was thorough and dedicated. Tonight was important. The project she was finishing was one she had been working on for weeks, a detailed report that could help the company improve its customer outreach. Jennifer wanted everything to be perfect. Her heart swelled with a mix of pride and nervousness as she typed the last few lines, double-checking every statistic and graph. The office was deserted. The usual chatter of colleagues was gone, replaced only by the rhythmic sound of her fingers tapping the keyboard. Occasionally she paused, stretching her tired hands and looking out the window. The city lights twinkled like stars, but Jennifer felt a quiet loneliness settle in her chest. She missed the warmth of friendly faces, the easy laughter of casual conversation, and the feeling of belonging. But she pushed those feelings aside, reminding herself that this job was a new beginning, a chance to prove herself in a big, bustling company where no one knew her shy nature or her past struggles. As Jennifer carefully saved her work and prepared to shut down her computer, she noticed a faint light coming from the CEO's office down the hall. It was unusual. Most nights the CEO, Jackson, left early or worked quietly from his home. Jackson was a man shrouded in mystery. His name was spoken with respect, but also a hint of fear among employees. Jennifer had only seen him a few times, always distant, always serious. Jackson's reputation was that of a strict leader who demanded excellence but rarely showed kindness. Rumors whispered in the break room suggested he was cold, unapproachable, and preferred to keep his personal life completely hidden. Curiosity stirred within Jennifer, but she quickly brushed it away. She was not one to pry or get involved in office politics. Still, the soft glow behind the door and the occasional muffled sound made her wonder what could be keeping the CEO here so late. Jennifer glanced at the clock again. It was nearly 8:30 p.m. The office had been empty for hours. The usual buzz of work had faded, leaving behind a heavy silence that settled around her like a blanket. Her phone buzzed softly on her desk, a message from her mother checking if she was okay. Jennifer smiled faintly and typed back a quick reply. "Almost done, Mom. I'll be home soon." But deep inside, Jennifer felt a strange mix of excitement and unease. Staying late wasn't part of her usual routine, and yet something about this evening felt different. She didn't know it yet, but this quiet night was about to change her life in ways she could never imagine. As she turned back to her screen, she heard footsteps echoing softly in the hallway outside. She looked up, startled, but no one appeared. The footsteps grew louder, then faded away. Jennifer's heart skipped a beat. Who else was still here? She told herself it was probably just a janitor or someone working late like her. But when she glanced again toward the CEO's office, the light was still on, and the door was slightly ajar. Her breath caught. Should she keep working? Should she leave? She felt torn. The project was important, but something inside her urged her to stay a little longer, to be brave, to face the unknown. Jennifer sat back in her chair, taking a deep breath. She was shy, yes, but she was also stronger than she believed. Tonight, she promised herself, she would finish what she started, no matter what came next. As the clock ticked on, the office grew quieter still. Jennifer focused on her work, Unaware that just a few rooms away, Jackson was preparing to reveal a secret that would change both their lives forever. Jennifer had finally completed her project and was gathering her things to leave the quiet office. The exhaustion of the long day weighed heavily on her shoulders, but there was a small smile on her face, a smile of quiet pride in finishing something important on her own. She picked up her bag, sliding her notebook from under her arm as she stood up. But in the rush to leave, the notebook slipped from her grasp and hit the floor with a soft thud. She instinctively bent down to pick it up, her fingers brushing the cool carpet. That's when she heard it, a faint sound from the hallway. At first, she thought it was just the building settling, but then, clear as day, came the sound of voices. Not just any voices, but one she recognized, Jackson's. Curiosity flickered inside her. She wasn't the kind of person to eavesdrop. No, she respected privacy. But there was something different in the tone she heard. A softness, a pain she had never expected from the CEO known for his cold demeanor. Jennifer looked up slowly. The CEO's office door was slightly open, just enough to let the sound slip out. She glanced around quickly, making sure no one was watching, then took a small step closer, heart pounding in her chest. Her breath caught as she heard Jackson's voice, low and trembling. He was on the phone. But this wasn't the commanding, professional voice the company usually heard. This was vulnerable, filled with emotion. "I don't know how to fix this anymore," Jackson whispered, his words heavy with sorrow. "The mistakes my family made, they haunt me every day. I've tried to make things right, but it feels like the past is always catching up to me." Jennifer's heart tightened. She had no idea what he was talking about, but the pain in his voice was clear. She listened carefully, every word a fragile thread pulling her closer. Jackson continued, his voice barely above a whisper now. "It's more than business. It's my family's history, things done to people because of the color of their skin. I carry that guilt every time I make a decision. I don't want to be part of that anymore." Jennifer's breath hitched. Racism. A word so heavy, so painful. She had heard stories in her life about the cruelty that came from hatred and prejudice. But hearing it now, from a man she had only seen as distant and strict, was shocking. A mixture of emotions swirled inside her. Confusion, empathy, and something else she couldn't quite name. She understood how heavy a secret like that could be. Guilt can weigh on a person's soul like 1,000 stones. Jackson's voice cracked. "I want to change, but I don't know where to start. The company, my family, the legacy, it feels impossible." Jennifer's eyes stung with tears she didn't expect. She stepped back softly, careful not to make a sound. The CEO's secret burden was heavier than she could have imagined. For a moment she just stood there, the weight of what she had heard sinking deep into her heart. This man, who seemed so cold and distant during the day, was wrestling with a painful past that even she, a shy girl at the bottom of the ladder, could now feel. The silence after his words felt like a quiet plea for help, a hope for understanding. Jennifer realized that behind the strict exterior was a man searching for redemption. Her own fears and insecurities seemed small in comparison. She thought about her own life, the times she had felt invisible or unheard, and suddenly felt a connection to Jackson's pain. Jennifer took a deep breath, steadying herself. She hadn't meant to overhear this, but now that she had, she knew she couldn't ignore it. The secret she had uncovered was fragile and painful, but it was also a bridge, a chance for something new to begin. Just then, the phone call ended. Jackson sighed deeply and leaned back in his chair, his face hidden in his hands. Jennifer quietly slipped away, heart pounding, notebook in hand, with a new understanding of the man who led her company. As she walked to the elevator, her mind raced. What would she do with this knowledge? Could she help? Should she tell anyone? The night felt heavier now, but it also held a strange kind of hope. Jennifer knew that sometimes the hardest confessions could lead to the strongest changes. And so, with a heart full of compassion and a mind swirling with questions, Jennifer stepped out of the office building and into the cool night air. Unaware that her life was about to intertwine with Jackson's in ways neither of them could have imagined. Jennifer froze in place, her heart pounding as she prepared to step away from the CEO's office. But just as she turned, she heard the soft clearing of a throat behind the door. "Jennifer?" The voice was calm, gentle, but unmistakably Jackson's. Her breath caught. Did he know she had been listening? She swallowed hard, unsure whether to run or stay. The door creaked open wider, and there he stood, Jackson, the powerful CEO, looking less like the untouchable figure everyone described, and more like a man burdened by his own struggles. "Please, come in," he said quietly, his eyes searching hers with a vulnerability Jennifer hadn't seen before. Nervousness washed over Jennifer, but something about his tone made her hesitate. This wasn't the cold, distant man from the office rumors. This was someone real, someone human. She stepped inside the office, feeling the weight of the moment settle between them. The usual intimidating power of his office seemed to soften in the quiet space they shared. Jackson closed the door behind her and gestured for her to sit. "I want to apologize if I startled you," he began, his voice low. "I wasn't expecting anyone to be here so late." Jennifer nodded, still feeling the flutter of nerves. I just finished my work. I didn't mean to intrude." Jackson smiled faintly, a rare softness in his eyes. "No intrusion. I'm glad you stayed. I think it's time I stopped hiding." He took a deep breath and looked out the window for a moment before turning back. "The truth is, Jennifer, I've been carrying a heavy burden. Guilt from my family's past, from decisions made long before I was born. It's shaped who I am and, honestly, who I've been as a leader." Jennifer listened intently. The man who commanded thousands of employees was now sharing a secret that most people would never admit to anyone. Her heart ached for him. "I want to change things," Jackson continued, "to create a workplace where everyone feels safe, valued, and respected, regardless of their background. But I don't know where to start." Jennifer felt a flicker of hope. She had often dreamed of a workplace where diversity wasn't just a buzzword, but a reality. A place where people like her, quiet, shy, sometimes overlooked, could belong. Gathering courage, she spoke softly. "I've always wished this place was more welcoming, especially for people who don't fit the usual mold. It can feel lonely, like you're invisible." Jackson nodded thoughtfully. "Exactly. I want to change that feeling for everyone." Their conversation deepened as they shared stories. Jennifer about her struggles to be heard, Jackson about the pressures of his family legacy. Each word built a fragile bridge between their worlds. They found surprising common ground, a desire for honesty, for fairness, and for connection. Jackson admitted, "I've spent so long hiding behind my role, afraid that showing vulnerability would make me weak. But talking with you, I realize strength lies in being open." Jennifer smiled shyly. "I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad you heard me. Most people don't notice the quiet ones." For the first time, Jennifer saw Jackson not as a distant CEO, but as a person who cared deeply, someone who needed a friend. The room felt warmer, the silence between them no longer awkward but comforting. In that moment, both knew something had changed. The shy girl and the powerful CEO were no longer just roles in a company. They were two souls beginning to understand each other. Jackson stood and walked over to his desk. "Jennifer, I want you to help me with this. Your perspective is valuable. Together, maybe we can make the change I've been dreaming of." Jennifer's heart fluttered. The chance to make a difference, and the unexpected connection she felt with Jackson, filled her with new strength. As she left the office that night, the world outside felt different. The city lights seemed brighter, the possibilities endless. She realized that sometimes the most unexpected meetings could open the door to hope, healing, and even friendship. And maybe, just maybe, the quietest voices could help change the loudest places. In the days that followed their chance meeting, Jennifer found herself thinking about Jackson in a way she never expected. The powerful CEO, once so distant and intimidating, now seemed almost approachable, a man carrying his own burdens and searching for something better. She wondered if he felt the same. Their paths crossed more often, not just in the corridors of the office, but in quiet moments over coffee or late afternoon breaks. Each encounter peeled back another layer of the walls they both had built around themselves. Jackson began to open up about his fears. He spoke of the pressure of living up to his family's legacy, the guilt he carried for past wrongs he had no control over, and the overwhelming desire to lead differently, with fairness, empathy, and understanding. "I'm terrified," Jackson confessed one afternoon, his voice barely above a whisper. "Terrified that no matter what I do, the past will always define me, that people will see me only as the son of a family with a history of hate." Jennifer listened, her heart aching for the man who seemed so strong, yet so vulnerable. She shared her own story, the feeling of invisibility she had carried since childhood, the way her quiet nature often made her invisible in a noisy world. "I've always felt like I'm on the outside looking in," she said softly, "like no one really sees me for who I am." Jackson reached out, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I see you, Jennifer, and I want this company to be a place where everyone is seen and heard, not just for their work, but for their whole selves." Their friendship blossomed in these moments of honesty. Trust grew between them like a fragile flower pushing through concrete. They shared laughter, stories, hopes, and fears, discovering that despite their different roles, they both longed for the same things: acceptance, kindness, and change. Together, they started brainstorming ways to transform the company culture. They envisioned programs that would celebrate diversity, workshops to educate and unite employees, and policies that would create real opportunities for people of all backgrounds. Jennifer's confidence grew with every meeting. She found her voice in ways she never thought possible, speaking up in groups and offering ideas that Jackson eagerly embraced. Jackson, too, began to soften. The stern CEO image faded, replaced by a leader who listened deeply and cared genuinely. Employees started noticing the change: the way he smiled more, how he made an effort to connect with people, and the quiet humility in his eyes. One afternoon, as they reviewed plans for a new diversity initiative, Jackson paused and said, "I never thought I'd find a partner like you, Jennifer. Someone who understands not just the work, but the heart behind it." Jennifer smiled, her cheeks warm. "Neither did I. It feels like we're building something real, not just for us, but for everyone." Their bond became a beacon of hope within the company. Colleagues began to feel the shift, sensing that change was not only possible, but already underway. Jennifer realized that trust, once so fragile, had grown into a powerful force. With Jackson by her side, she no longer felt invisible. Together, they were creating a new story, one where friendship, respect, and kindness could overcome even the heaviest burdens. And in that transformation, both found something precious: the courage to be themselves and the hope that they could inspire others to do the same. The evening air was cool as Jennifer stepped out of the conference room, her heart still racing from the success of the day's meeting. The diversity programs she and Jackson had been working on were finally gaining real momentum. The room had been filled with hopeful faces, genuine applause, and a shared sense of purpose. As she packed up her things, she felt a tap on her shoulder. Turning around, she found Jackson standing there, a soft smile playing on his lips, the kind of smile that reached his eyes and made them shine. "Jennifer," he said quietly, "would you like to grab some coffee with me? There's a little cafe just around the corner." Jennifer hesitated for a moment. It wasn't just any invitation. It felt different, more personal. But something about Jackson's gentle tone made her feel safe, seen, and wanted. "I'd like that," she replied softly, her shy smile matching his. They walked together into the night, the city lights casting a golden glow on the streets of New York. Inside the cozy cafe, the scent of fresh coffee and baked pastries wrapped around them like a warm embrace. Sitting across from each other, the walls between them continued to crumble. Their conversation flowed easily, laughter mixing with moments of thoughtful silence. For the first time, they talked not about work or company struggles, but about life. Jackson shared stories from his childhood, memories of places he loved but had never spoken about at the office. Jennifer spoke of her dreams, her fears, and the quiet strength she found in moments of solitude. There was a tenderness in Jackson's gaze when he looked at her, as if he was discovering a treasure hidden beneath the surface of her shyness. "You're stronger than you know, Jennifer," he said, reaching across the table to lightly touch her hand. "Your kindness and courage inspire me every day." Jennifer's heart fluttered. She had never imagined the CEO, the man so many feared, could be this warm, this real. In that simple touch, something shifted. The friendship that had grown from shared pain and hope now blossomed into something deeper. A connection filled with trust, admiration, and a gentle kind of love. They talked late into the night, sharing dreams of a future where both their worlds could merge, where honesty, respect, and love could overcome even the darkest past. Jackson admitted, "I feel like with you, I can be myself. Flaws, fears, and all. Together, we can face anything." Jennifer nodded, feeling a peace she hadn't known before. "I believe that too. With you, I'm not afraid to be seen." The night ended with a promise, not just of romance, but of partnership. A promise to stand together, to support each other, and to continue fighting for a better, more inclusive world. As they parted ways outside the cafe, the city around them felt brighter, filled with endless possibilities. Jennifer walked home with a heart full of hope and a smile that wouldn't fade. She knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, she wouldn't face them alone. And for Jackson, the shy girl he had once barely noticed had become the light guiding him toward a future filled with love and redemption. Their story was no longer just about business or secrets. It was about two souls finding each other in a world desperate for kindness. News of Jennifer and Jackson's journey didn't explode across the company like wildfire. It spread quietly, like the soft, steady light of dawn breaking through the night. It began in whispers, in small conversations by the water cooler, in heartfelt emails, and in the way colleagues started looking at each other differently. The company's culture began to shift, slowly but surely. The diversity and inclusion programs they had dreamed up together weren't just words on paper anymore. They became living, breathing parts of everyday life at the office. Teams once divided by walls of misunderstanding now reached across those barriers with open hands and open hearts. Employees felt safe enough to share their stories, their struggles, and their dreams without fear of judgment. Jackson's secret confession, once hidden behind the locked door of his office, became a powerful lesson for everyone. It showed that even the most powerful people carry heavy burdens, that strength isn't about hiding pain, but facing it with honesty. The CEO, who once seemed untouchable, had revealed his humanity, teaching his employees that vulnerability was not weakness, but courage. Jennifer's bravery, her decision to listen, to understand, and to stand alongside Jackson, became an inspiration. Her quiet strength and kindness demonstrated how empathy could tear down the highest walls of prejudice. More than policies and programs, it was the example of two people, a shy girl and a CEO, coming together with honesty and love that changed everything. Employees began to speak openly about difficult topics, sharing their own stories of exclusion and hope. Company leaders followed Jackson's lead, embracing transparency and working toward a future where every voice mattered. Jennifer found herself surrounded by a community that celebrated her uniqueness, no longer feeling invisible, but deeply valued. Jackson watched with pride as the company transformed, no longer a place defined by its past mistakes, but by its commitment to growth, healing, and inclusivity. Their story reminded everyone that the wounds of history, no matter how deep, could be healed with compassion and determination. Love, they learned, was a powerful force, one that could bridge divides, mend broken hearts, and inspire change beyond any policy or procedure. As for Jennifer and Jackson, their bond continued to grow, rooted in trust, respect, in the shared belief that they were stronger together. They proved that real strength lies not in denying our past, but in accepting it, learning from it, and working hand in hand to build a better tomorrow. In a world too often divided by fear and misunderstanding, their story was a beacon of hope, a reminder that kindness, honesty, and love could transform even the coldest hearts in the darkest histories. And as the company thrived with new energy and purpose, Jennifer and Jackson knew that their journey was just beginning, a journey toward healing, unity, and a future where everyone belonged. Their story was not just theirs anymore. It belonged to everyone who dared to believe that change was possible, that love was powerful, and that the quietest voices could make the loudest difference. True strength doesn't come from power, titles, or status. It comes from honesty, vulnerability, and the courage to change. When we open our hearts to understanding and lead with kindness, even the deepest wounds from the past can begin to heal. In a world divided by differences, love, empathy, and respect can bring us together. No voice is too small to spark change, and no heart too shy to be the light someone needs.